Hey everyone, thanks for tuning back in to mattsteinway.com. Here I am with one of the most famous real estate agents on the planet, Rob Matheson. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, very good. Now, I tweeted last night that I was interviewing you, and a few people have asked me to ask you certain questions. So is that all right?
Excellent, and it's all a surprise. So I'm shocked.
So let's start with this one. This is from, I don't even know how you say it, it's Sigoe1, I think it is.
Yep.
How does Rob find balance between home or work and home life?
Oh, good question. Funny, I was only talking about my wife about this last night. Look, mate, it's really a matter of structuring into my ideal week. And I actually have changed to an ideal fortnight now because I was really struggling with getting all that balance correctly. I was trying to please everyone in 7 days, and it's just I just found it physically impossible. So I've now gone to an ideal fortnight. It's finding out what's important to the people that are the most important to you and then going with that. So, for example, it's really important for my wife that we spend time together one-on-one by ourselves. So I will, Friday afternoons, for example, I try to get out of here by 12:30, 1 o'clock and go and spend some time with her. Now, to compensate that, I'm doing what I call a 5:30 Friday. So I start at 5:30 in the morning. I walk in the office and I'm here at 5:30. But between 5:30 and 8, no one comes in. I've said to my assistant, do not come in until 8 o'clock. I don't want to see you so I can get all my work done. And then, so by 9:30, I'm into my calls, I'm moving on, and then I'm home by 12:30, 1 o'clock, so I can spend the afternoon with her. Now, whether we go and do a training session together or we go to lunch or we just sit around home and do nothing, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And it's just getting that right. It's just trying to get that right balance there.
You know what you said just then, which is something I've said for a long time, but I want to ask you about it. You know how you've got to understand what's important to them? Like is your wife on board with your work style and your work volume? Like, is she supportive?
I've trained her. How's that sound? No. She is, because she knows that I love what I do. She understands that it's important to me, but we have, as much as I've got a goal book and I set goals and all that sort of stuff, we actually do a goal planning session together. And we get a heap of butcher's paper and we put it on the floor. We get texters out, so we're like kids. Generally, we'll do it and sit down over a bottle of wine, because you generally find you have a bottle of wine and everyone relaxes a bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. If it's after dinner, you can sit down and do it on a Saturday night when you're not doing anything the next morning. But we came up with certain topics, and they were, what's like our children. So we individually wrote down our children's name, what we wanted for our parents, what we wanted for ourselves, what sort of holidays we wanted, what I wanted from my career, what she wanted from her career. And then underneath it, we wrote all the dot points. And I'm not saying I set it up, but I actually got her to write it, because then she's got better handwriting than me, so we'll actually be able to read it the next day. But she's got that much involvement in it. So she's fully on board, and we've actually got them hanging up in a room in our house. And we went down there the other day and just looked around and went, geez, look at how much stuff we've done in the past 6 months. So it's really hard to get someone that potentially doesn't do goals or doesn't have a goal book, for argument's sake, to buy in the process. But she loves it now, and yeah. So yes, in answer to your question, she's fully on board. She supports what I do because she knows I love it so much.
Do you think you'd be as successful if your wife didn't support you?
No. If I didn't have the balance at home, I would be. I know it's a real fine art. You've got to get that balance. But by her knowing how much I love it, makes it so much easier for me. And to be honest, she really runs our household. I might stake claim that I pick my daughter up from dancing, 3 or 4 times a week. But at the end of the day, I'm just told to do that. Very rarely do I have to worry about a meal being cooked. Very rarely do I have to worry about, a bill being paid. So she manages, and she manages the household side of it as well as runs her own business, but she runs the household side of it, but also takes control because she knows that frees me up to think. Very rarely will I think about what's for dinner. So that's just it's a balance. It's a teamwork, it's a business, it's a partnership. So it's good.
Sounds like it works well, mate. This is from Sales Partner. Closing tips. How do you give buyers and owners confidence to accept or make an offer in the current market?
Look,
I know that's like a whole seminar in itself, but is there a short one?
I suppose with a closing one, as far as the sellers go, And if you're talking a listing presentation, my listing presentation is around closing them the whole time. I gave a talk the other day in Melbourne, and I said my talk is going to be similar to a listing presentation, where we're going to do one part, we're going to shut the door on that and make sure they're happy. I think it's a little bit the same with buyers. You've got to get them to the house, you've got to make them feel comfortable, you've got to make them wander around the home and feel comfortable. I think it's then a matter of sort of asking the right questions about finance and, do they like the home, and what do they like about it, what don't they like it? And then it's really a matter of letting them make that decision. I think, unfortunately, in the market we're in at the moment, if you try and close someone really hard, they're just going to move on to the next property. That's what I'm finding. I think that you've actually got to become their friend. And I met some buyers the other day, and we explained the auction process, and it took probably half an hour. Prior to that, they wouldn't have considered auction properties. Well, now they will, and it's providing buyers with a bucket load of information. And I think you've actually got to get them that they think you're on their team. Now, with owners, there's owners out there that, they've got to make the right decision for them. And if it's not to accept an offer, well, I think you've then almost got to point out the fact, well, guys, you might be in the home for another 3 or 4 years, because that's the way the market's indicating. And don't be fearful of the fact that if you have to give it back to them, give it back, but leave it on the right terms, so that when they come back to put it on the market, they're just going to come straight back to you. I had a guy who got an offer yesterday that's 40 grand less than the asking price. And I went around and saw them. He said, mate, I'm actually apologising to you for not taking the offer, but I can't. So, well, let's hang on to it, and 3 or 4 years come back. So it's not really about closing and trying to get the deal together today. I think you've got to look at the bigger picture, and that's what this industry is. You don't prospect to find listings today, you prospect for the future. You're not necessarily got to put a deal together today if it means holding off 12 months. I know 12 months doesn't pay the bills, but as you know, the rewards come back.
Yeah, it builds long-term equity, mate. So it sounds like service is really the closing technique, isn't it?
I think it is. I think it's providing a higher level of service than you ever did. Something I'm doing at the moment is I'm going through and reviewing all aspects of my business and making sure that if it's a 9 out of 10, how do I get it to 11? If it's a 5 out of 10, how do I get it to 11 or 12? And it's purely and utterly. A classic example is my open homes. I've let little things slip through in my open homes. Well, there's a number out there that 70% of people come to open homes that are potentially going to do something. Right? So why am I not got an open home that's a 20 out of 10? Why don't I have the lollies and the information there? Well, what happened was I got so busy I tried to cram all those open homes together. Well, let's take an extra 5 minutes each way and actually make it an event. So it's now, and you're right, it all comes back to customer service. If you're providing that client with so much stuff, they're going to want to do business with you. I had an email from a lady yesterday apologising that she didn't put an offer forward on a house I showed her the night before. She said, look, I've decided it's not for me. She said, but Robert, I really want to buy something with you. Well, that's almost as good a close. She's decided she doesn't want the home, but she still loves me. Well, I'm a chance.
That's true, mate. This one's from Corners 18 or 19, I think. Can't read my writing. What do you do different? What would you do different if you started over again?
Oh, geez. If I started over again, I would like to go back because I wouldn't make as many mistakes, I can tell you that. I would have prospected a lot harder. I spent probably the first 3 years just absolutely fluffing around, thinking I was busy in this industry by doing 1 or 2 appointments.
Yeah.
I would get a really, really solid structure, and the solid structure would be, I'm going to mailbox drop in the morning, I'm going to do my calls, I'm going to do my appointments, get something really, really structured. I wouldn't go out obviously and employ a PA straight away because there's a cost involved in that, but I think a lot of agents that come in the industry today get caught up in all the paperwork side of it, and they sit there and they look at their appraisal forms and how they enter it into their database and all this sort of stuff. I'd pull that all aside, I'd go and find a 15-year-old kid that knows exactly how to operate a computer, tell him exactly what I want and get him to set it up, pay him $15-20 an hour and eliminate that from my side. Because at the end of the day, I know when I first started, I got caught up in all the, fluffing around. I had no structure. I was running here, there. I was very amenable to everyone. But if I'd actually had the structure in place, I would have been a lot better off. Yeah. I never started a database until I was about 3-4 years in the industry. So there's 3 or 4 years worth of clients out there just running around that can't even spell my name, let alone know who I am.
So I'd say you probably don't need them, though.
I don't need to trust me. But so I'd find a database. I'd get some really good training. I'd go and attend some of the really, really good courses and just absorb everything from everyone, highlight the ones that are important, and then go from it. It's a bit like prospecting. I know we've spoken about it before, but there's 40 or 50 different things you could do prospecting. Find the 5 that work and just do them properly. It's a bit like this. Go back to the start, five things that work, daily accountability, ideal week, have a goal book and a really solid structure, and then go for it. And then add the others as time sort of kicks in and you build momentum.
Very good. Cameron Smits, what's the cornerstone of your daily ritual, like to give you motivation? So is there something, you run a lot, don't you?
I've dropped the running off. I now train, so I'm going into the strength side of it a little bit more now. So I love doing that, and I'm doing that now 3 times a week.
And you do that every morning?
Yeah, every morning. I did this morning, so I kicked off at 6:30 this morning. Did an hour session, and then I do a session on Tuesdays as well, and then something on Saturdays as well. Every other day I just walk. So that's my morning ritual. I'm generally out of bed by sort of 5:30. And then I sort of, check my emails, update Facebook, whatever it happens to be, sort of between that sort of 5:30 and 6, and then I go and do some form of a training or a walk, and then I'm in the office by 7:30, and then the day kicks in from there.
Awesome. Last one from the Twitter fans. What's your most effective prospecting tool?
Well, I love cold calling. I know it's absolutely bizarre. I absolutely love it. The reason I love it is it keeps me real, and it keeps me as a real person. I go to an hour of a day. We've got someone that we catch up with, and we do it together. But I love it. I love the cold calls.
Go the cold calls.
Database.
This is questions from me, mate. What's your view on social networking in real estate?
I find it I was really reluctant to get on board. I thought to myself, what do people want to know, whether I want to go to the toilet, when I need to go and all this sort of stuff, but I just avoided all that. I now do, mine is designed around my business. I've incorporated a lot of my personal stuff in the sense of if I go out to dinner with my wife or something to do with my children or whatever it happens to be, I'll incorporate that part into it. But I'm meeting some great people on the sites, and I think some of the knowledge I'm getting from these guys is unbelievable, and I think you find people that are there with the right reason actually want to share everything. I'd recommend get on board, but do it as a business. If you want to have a private one where you talk about whatever you want to talk about, but have it as a business. And I'm loving it.
Very good.
I'm anti it right from the start, but I'm all right now.
Takes a bit sometimes, but it's good when you get into it. Exactly. How do you follow up after a market opinion, mate? Is there anything that you do specifically, or is it?
Yep. So I go and do an appraisal today. If I do an appraisal on your house, regardless if you're hot or cold, or A or B or C, whatever you say, you get a text message pretty much as I'm pulling out of the driveway to say, thanks very much for having me into your home. You'll then receive a thank you card. I then send a letter. It's with a price. So I have a pricing letter that I send saying, thanks very much for having me at home. You get a pricing letter. You then get a follow-up letter after that says, if you had any further questions, please let me know. A letter from the principal of the company saying, thanks very much for having Robert in there. And then you go into my trail. On top of that, you receive a phone call and then a second phone call within 7 days. And then pending whether you're A, B or C will depend whether you go on to a longer term plan or whether it's a short term one. If you're A grade and selling today, there will be a reason for me to call you every day, whether it be, because the biggest thing is if you're selling today and I'm actually listening to the appointment that we have together, there'll be things like that'll come out of the appointment like, you need to sort your finance out, you need a garter, you needed a painter. And those calls are easy because you ring and say to the finance guy, ring you, yep, no worries. Did he get back to you? Yep. Did the painter call you? Yep. Did he come out and give you the quote? Yep. What did you think of the quote? Do you need a second quote? So those calls are easy to flow on from. Yep. I never ring to say, Matt, are you selling today? Because everyone does that.
Well, you make a decision,
and then on top of that, also you'll get a follow-up email. So I take your email and I'll send you an email that afternoon just saying, thanks for having me out to the home. As discussed, all the information I'm going to get to you, you're going to get over the next couple of days. I do it for 2 reasons. One is I want your email address, but secondly, I can check that I've actually got the right one.
Yeah.
Because you'll give me, whilst I haven't given you all the information today, you'll give me your email address. But if I wait 3 weeks down the track, you're going to say, well, hang on, I've got everything I want. So now you're just going to fill my inbox full of, garbage every month. So I get it early and I make sure I've got it right because it's very easy to get the wrong number or something like that.
Is your market opinion follow-up with past clients different?
No, exactly the same.
Exactly
I do
the
exactly the
same?
same. Yeah, I do everything the same for everyone. The reason being is that I try to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And if I had two different plans, one for past sellers and one for cold appraisals, I'd end up mucking it up. So I've got the standard. It's again, my business is designed simply. I have the standard response for every single person, and people appreciate it. I've never had anyone, qualm about it.
Well, it's about helping them by the sound of it.
Yeah.
When did your career start to change, mate? So there's a lot of agents that are watching this and going, yeah, it's all right for Rob. He's blooming dominating the world.
Yeah.
But was it always like that? Like, when did it start to change for you?
Probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Prior to that...
How long have you been in it?
About 12 years.
Okay.
I got a theory that if you survive the first 12 months, you're a chance. If you get to 3 years, you're a good chance. And you get to 5, you're almost going to get there. And I think if I actually look at what I did, I don't know how I got through the first 12 months, not getting paid, going to work, no support, no knowledge, no training. How I got through that, I got no idea. The next 3 to 4 years, I got the basic training and the basic knowledge.
Yep.
And then after that, I really picked up on everyone else that was out there, followed them, kept an eye on what everyone was doing, and really started to develop it. And it coincided with what we were talking about before, is making sure I knew why I was coming to work. I actually didn't know why I was coming to work. I was just coming to work and doing this job. And when you think about it, like I got home last night at 8 o'clock. Who would actually go to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, go home at 8, and potentially not get paid? So, you got to be crazy. So you've got to have a why. Yeah, us. There's plenty of us out there. But you've got to have a why. And that comes back to that, my $1.29 goal book that has pieces of paper in there, that has my wife's input, has my children's input, has my, family's input. So I can actually physically look at that every day and say, I really do want to take my family to the States, and it's in my goal book and I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And by having that the switch almost turned, then with that, then I said, well, this is what I want to write. This is how many appraisals I've got to do. This is how many listings I've got to get. This is how many calls I've got to make. So that's how I get that part. And then how do I do it? And it's not hard. It's not easy. It is quite a hard road to go down. But it's not about everyone wanting to write $1 million or everyone wanting to write 500 or 300. Just work out what the number is. And I'm okay if someone says, I want to write 100 grand. Not an issue in the world. Yeah. Just do it properly and don't disturb everyone that wants to do 200 in the process. But there's no issues with doing that. I
love that. That's so, everyone that wants to do more. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong. No one should listen to this or talk to us or listen to us or whatever and say, geez, it's all right for him because he can do that. If I'd be happy doing 500 if it meant that I could get what I want out of my life and what I want to do. I at this point in time in my career want more. There's nothing wrong with that. And in turn, there's nothing with someone saying, hey, I want 200 and being rock solid at that and doing a solid 200, looking after their clients 10 out of 10. It actually makes it a better industry.
Definitely. One last thing, mate. What's the best thing to do, in your opinion, when a negotiation gets stuck? So
I think personally the best thing to do is get in the car and go and see both clients. Yeah. I don't think you can beat being face to face with them. Personally, over the phone, you lose all the power. Personally, over the phone, you don't know what they're doing at the other end. They could be cooking dinner, feeding the dog, cleaning the pool, whatever it happens to be, and not actually listening to you. To sit down in front of them and actually take a time. And it's all about time. You can't go to their house at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the kids are screaming, the wife's cooking dinner, the husband's walked in the door, he's cranky as anything, and you sit down and say, guys, we're 30 grand apart. What do you want to do? Because it's just going to blow up in your face. If you've got to go there at 8 o'clock at night, sit down with them and you've got to have everything explained. So it's got to be, why are these people buying the home? Why are they offering what they're offering? What do they like about it? What do they don't like about it? What are they prepared to offer? And then listen, and listen is the best thing. Listen to what the owners are saying and then take it back. And you might have to go back to the buyers, back to the sellers, back to the buyers a dozen times. What does it matter? I just think face-to-face. You can't beat face-to-face.
Awesome advice. Question of the day today for everybody. Just trying to read what I wrote. Okay. Out of both interviews with Rob, so this is not for you, mate. This is for everyone else watching. Get a conversation going around this. So out of Rob's both interviews, what do you think's the main factor why he's become number one? Now, not just number one in his office, number one in the world for LJ Hooker. What do you think the main factor is? I'd love to hear what everyone thinks. Rob, thanks.
Matt, anytime. Give me a call anytime you want to do this. It's all good.
I'll let you get on with your day. Thanks for tuning everyone and helping make this real estate world a much better place. See you, mate.
See you, mate.